I still remember the way the coffee tasted that morning, lukewarm, slightly burnt, just the way I hated it, but I drank it anyway. Habit, same seat in the break room, same faded calendar on the wall, same steel-toed boots on my feet. It was supposed to be just another Tuesday. I'd been with the company for 22 years, not just punching in and out. I built things there. Fixed machines no one else could, showed up early, left late. I knew every square inch of that factory floor like the back of my hand, so when my supervisor walked in, smiled like nothing was wrong, and said, "Hey, the boss wants to see you in." His office, I didn't think twice. I wiped my hands on my jeans, tossed the rest of the coffee, and headed up. He didn't even stand when I came in, just pointed to the chair across from him. I sat down. That's when I saw the envelope already. Waiting on the desk? "We're restructuring," he said. That's it. 2 words. Restructuring. I blinked, waited for more. Then came the rest. "We've decided to move in a more cost-effective direction. Your position is being eliminated. Effective immediately." I don't even think he looked me in the eye. No. Thank you. No handshake. Just ... The envelope 20-2 years. It's gone in a sentence. I remember staring at that paper while everything around me sounded muffled. Machines still humming in the distance. Phones ringing. Door, but in my head, just white noise. I cleared out my locker by lunch. Nobody said much. Some couldn't look at me. Others just nodded like they were afraid it might happen to them next. I rocked out with a cardboard box and a lifetime's worth of loyalty shoved into a pink slip. I didn't even cry. I just kept walking. Because sometimes the worst part isn't what they say. It's how easy it is for them to say it. My first day on that floor was just a kid, barely 20. Calluses not even formed yet. They handed me a dented metal toolbox and pointed toward a line of busted conveyor belts. Didn't say much. Didn't have to. That's how it was back then. You learned by doing. I showed up early the next morning, and the one after that. Stayed late when others clocked out. Watched. Listened. I kept my head down and my hands busy. I remember learning every machine by heart, every switch, every panel, every strange little rattle that told you something wasn't quite right. You spend that much time around steel and smoke, and eventually it speaks to you. I could hear when a motor was ready to fail before anyone else did. They started. Asking me to train new hires? Show 'em the ropes. Show 'em how not to lose a finger. I never said no. Even on days when I hadn't slept. Even on holidays. I was the guy they called when something broke at 2 a.m., the guy who picked up shifts when others called out. One Thanksgiving, I missed dinner to fix a jammed pallet loader. My son was 7. He drew me a picture that said, "I miss you, Dad," in red crayon. I kept it in my locker for years, and I told myself this sacrifice. It means something, this loyalty, this consistency. One day it'll come back around. I thought I was building something more than just a career. I thought I was earning respect, maybe even legacy. You don't give 22 years to something without leaving fingerprints all over it, the systems, a streamlined half of them, the protocols. I helped write those manuals. Hell, I fixed problems the company didn't even know it had yet. I gave them everything I had, my time, my sweat, my pride, because I believed. In the team, in the work, and maybe stupidly, I believed they saw me. Turns out I was just a number, just a line on a spreadsheet they could delete with a single click. But back then, thought I mattered. They replaced me with a guy who looked like he'd just walked out of a business seminar. Crisp shirt, shiny shoes. No grease under the fingernails. Probably still had the tag on his hard hat. I watched him from a distance, not by choice. Word got around fast. He was the new efficiency supervisor, brought in to modernize operations. Problem was, he didn't know the damn difference between a hydraulic valve and a garden hose. He had the buzzwords down: streamlining, lean ops, cost reduction. But ask him how to recalibrate the pressure sensors on line 3. Blank stare. The guys on the floor? The real ones. The lifers, they tried to help him at first. They asked simple things. "What's the maintenance protocol for the chillers?" He flipped through a binder and said, "I'll get back to you." You could feel the shift. Morale dropped. And slowly, the line started slipping. It's not just about replacing experience. It's about replacing context. That plant ran like a body. I knew its heartbeat. I knew when a hum meant a bearing was going bad. I knew which bolts vibrated. Loose in the summer heat, and which sensors needed a kick on cold mornings. But this guy? He thought leadership was just pointing fingers and using words like synergy. I heard from a buddy who still worked there that he changed the maintenance schedule to save costs, cut the daily checks, moved safety inspections to every other. Weeks said we were over-maintaining, wanted to scream. That's not how it works. Machines don't wait politely to fail when it's convenient. But stayed quiet. Watched from the outside as the thing I helped build was handed to someone who didn't even know how to keep it alive. It was like watching someone try to drive. A stick shift for the first time, jerking, stalling, burning the clutch. But this time, the car was full of people who had no choice. But to ride it out, they thought they were saving money. They didn't realize they were setting the whole system up to fail. They called it progress. That's what the company memo said. New systems, new leadership. A bold, cost-effective direction for the future. And I watched. Quietly as the place I gave 2 decades to became unrecognizable. They ripped out the old scheduling software, the one I helped customize to avoid downtime, and replaced it with some flashy system no one understood. I heard they brought in consultants. People who'd never set foot on a factory floor. They made changes that looked good on a spreadsheet, made no sense in the real world. Production times got longer. Turnover went up, but every meeting, still full of smiles and buzzwords. Optimization, growth, metrics, future-focused leadership. But behind the curtain, machines started failing. Supplies ran short. Veteran workers quit out of frustration. And the newbies were set up to fail. I got a call from Luis, a guy the first trained 10 years ago. He said, "It's chaos, man. The new guy's in over his head. Nothing works the way it used to." And still, they called it progress. Funny thing is, they never said my name, never admitted. What they'd lost, they acted like 22 years of dedication could be replaced with a flashy title and a few PowerPoint slides. They acted like I hadn't spent weekends patching holes in the system. They were now driving straight into the ground. But they also didn't know something important. I had been planning my exit. Quietly, not out of bitterness, but because I knew how fragile things were becoming. I'd seen the writing on the wall months before they let me go. That's why I had started putting plans in motion. So when they cut me loose and called it a step forward, I smiled to myself because I knew what was coming, not out of spite. No, but because you can't build a future on the bones of what used to work, unless you understand what made it work in the first place. And they never did. They thought progress was a new face, cheaper salary, and some fresh buzzwords. They forgot that real progress is built on experience. 6 months. That's how long it took for the cracks to split wide open. One failure. Maybe that's bad luck too. You start asking questions. But 6. 6 major system failures in half a year. And every single one was tied to a decision I'd warned them about. The first was the cooling unit on line 4. I used to service it weekly even when no one told me to. It was sensitive. The new guy. We skipped 3 rotations. Figured it would be fine. It overheated during a full capacity run. Production shut down for 2 days, cost them over 80 grand. Then came the sensor calibration issue. I'd built a manual color-coded. Idiot dash-proofed apparently. It got tossed when they cleaned. Out my desk, 3 pallets got mislabeled. Shipped to the wrong client? Client canceled the contract. Strike 2. Then the pressure valve leak. The forklift mishap, the software glitch that corrupted 2 weeks of inventory data. Each one chipped away at the shiny image they tried to present to the world. But the sixth was poetic. The new guy decided to override a safety lockout to save time. Didn't realize The emergency cutoff was linked to a fault sensor I helped wire in myself years ago. The machine jammed. Sparks flew. No one was hurt. Thank God, but the fire department was called. The company tried to spin it. Minor incident. Under review. But inside the plant. Everyone knew. I got texts from former coworkers. Wish you were still here. Place is falling apart. Everything you said would happen. Happened. I didn't gloat. Didn't post online. Didn't say I told you so. I just sat on my porch, drank my coffee, and smiled because I knew what they never did this place. Wasn't held together by policies and paychecks. It was held together by people who cared. By guys like me. And once you strip that away once, you trade loyalty for a lower salary. You're not cutting costs. You're cutting the foundation out from under your own feet. They wanted to save money instead. It lost millions. What they didn't know was that I'd been planning my exit for years. I didn't talk about it. Didn't show my hand. Just did my job. Clocked in early. Clocked out late. All while building something they'd never see coming. It started 5 years before they let me go after they slashed our department budget but gave the execs bonuses. I knew the writing was on the wall, so I started saving. Started learning at night. I'd sit at my kitchen table with a cup of cheap coffee and blueprint software open. On my old laptop, I designed smarter layouts, leaner systems. I read books on industrial efficiency. Took night courses. Built prototypes in my garage with leftover scrap and parts I salvaged from projects they tossed out as obsolete. I made connections to vendors who liked the way I solved problems. Small factories who respected the work. We did but couldn't afford big-name consultants. They didn't know that behind my silence. I was learning how the whole operation worked, not just my role. Procurement, logistics, vendor negotiations. I'd quietly collected it all. Every mistake they made. I filed it away. Every shortcut that caused damage. Logged it. Every flaw in the system, I wrote the solution myself. So when they fired me, it wasn't broken. I was ready. I already had a name for the new company. I already had a plan, one that didn't just patch over problems, but solve them from the inside out. And the best part, I had people. 2 months after I left, 3 of the best technicians called me, said they were tired of being ignored, tired of seeing things fall apart. They wanted in. So we got to work quietly, smartly, and without anyone watching, they thought. They'd gotten rid of me, that I'd disappear, fade into the background. But what they didn't know was that I had turned their rejection into fuel, and every failure they suffered. It just proved I was right. For the first time in 22 years, I woke up and didn't answer to anyone but myself. No clacking. No condescending supervisor asking. For progress updates, no more decisions being made by people who'd never set foot on the floor, just me and a clean slate. I rented a small space, nothing fancy. Concrete floors, peeling paint. A garage door that creaked when it opened, but it was mine. I bought a second-hand workbench. Unpacked my old tools and taped the first blueprint to the wall. Rebuilding didn't mean starting from scratch. It meant starting from truth. I reached out to clients I'd worked with over the years, people who remembered what it felt like to have a problem solved with care, not just cost efficiency. Some didn't return the call. Some did, and the ones who did, they became my foundation. I kept things lean, no fluff, no debt, no investors breathing down my neck. Every dollar I earned went back into the business. I trained my new team the way I wish I'd been treated. We didn't just maximize efficiency. We listened. We fixed things before they broke. And you know what? We started winning contracts the old place had lost. We did smaller jobs, the ones they thought weren't worth their time, but we did them right. Word spread by month 6. We had enough to hire 2 more people. By month 9, we upgraded to a bigger space, and through it all, I never forgot why. I was doing it not to prove a point, not to take revenge, but to build something that respected the work and the people who did it. Because rebuilding isn't just about money or growth. It's about dignity. It's about waking up every morning and knowing you're building with purpose, not desperation. They threw me out like I was replaceable, but the moment I stepped into that empty warehouse, blueprint in hand. Sawdust in the air. ... I knew I was finally free. It was a regular Tuesday when the call came in. My phone buzzed while I was adjusting a calibrator on one of our new machines. Didn't recognize the number. Almost let it go to voicemail. But something told me to pick up. "Hey, this is Jenna from HR. From, well, you know where." I didn't say anything, just let the silence sit. She cleared her throat. "Listen, we were wondering if you might be open to a conversation. The team's been having some challenges." Already knew what that meant. 6 months of reports trickling in from old coworkers, systems failing, orders delayed, contracts canceled. The new supervisor, the cheaper guy, had apparently bailed after his third scheduling conflict caused a missed client deadline. Morale was tanking, turnover skyrocketed, and now they needed someone who knew how things worked. Someone they had already let go. I asked, "Why now?" She hesitated. "We just realized things work better when you were here." Worked better. That's what they were calling it now. Not loyalty. Not the 2 decades I gave them. Not the unpaid weekends. The holidays I skipped. The family events I missed to keep things running. Just ... Worked better? I thanked her, politely, told her I was busy, told her I'd think about it. But the truth, I already knew my answer. I wasn't going back. I didn't need to stand in that break room again, sipping burnt coffee, pretending I didn't. Here the whispers didn't need to walk the same halls where I was treated like furniture. They had their chance. They made their choice. And now I had choices of my own. I hung up, took a deep breath, looked around at the shop I had built from nothing, saw my team young, hungry, respectful, saw purpose in every tool on that bench, and for the first time in my life, I didn't just feel needed. I felt valued. They called me back, but I'd already moved forward. I used to think being fired was the worst thing that could happen to a man, that losing the job you gave your life to, 22 years of early mornings and late nights would leave you broken, and for a while, it did. But now looking back, I see it differently. I wasn't fired. I was freed from a system that only valued me when it needed a problem. Solved at 11 p.m., freed from nodding at managers who couldn't tell the difference between a gear and a gasket, freed from pretending I was okay with being invisible. They took away my desk. Sure, but they gave me back my life, and I didn't waste it. I built something with soul. A place where effort matters more than titles, where people are more than labor costs on a spreadsheet. I, too, get to choose who I work with now. People who show up, who care, who build something together. I go home in time for dinner. I sleep without dreading the next morning. I smile more. That job, the one they took, it trained me. No doubt. But it also trapped me. It kept me small. Kept me afraid to dream. Beyond a 401k and polite emails, getting fired broke me open. And in that crack, something better grew. Not just a new business, a new self, a man who knows what he's worth. Not because someone stamped it on a paycheck, but because he earned it in silence, failure, and quiet resilience. I thought I lost everything that day they let me go. But in truth, it was the day I finally started living for me, to the place that let me go. I used to think I'd write this with bitterness in my chest, maybe even vengeance in my heart. But I don't. You gave me a long road, some of it good, some of it rough. You taught me how to work, how to fix what's broken, how to survive. The slow grind, and when the time came, you let me believe I was disposable. A number, a budget line that could be erased with a single sentence. And for a while, that gutted me, but I see now. You didn't break me. You freed me from the version of myself that thought loyalty guaranteed protection. You made room for the man. I've become stronger, smarter, unapologetic ally mine, while you scrambled to fix the mess left behind. I was busy building something better from scratch. While your machines failed and your team walked out, I found people who believed in doing the job right. And no, I'm not writing this to gloat. This is a thank you. Letter in disguise. Thank you for showing me who you were, so I could finally remember who I am. Thank you for pushing me out so I could discover how far I could really go. Because the truth is, I would have stayed. I would have kept giving, kept shrinking to fit in your shadow, kept trading time for crumbs of recognition. But now, I own every hour I give. I see every result, every win, every mistake, and I carry them with pride. So too the place that let me go. You were the ending I didn't ask for, but you were also the beginning I didn't know I needed. I hope you figure things out. I really do. But as for me, I've already moved on and up, and the view from here, something you'll never get to see.